Chris Kyle was an ordinary American boy who spent his childhood racing horses in the dusty lands of Texas, holding rifles, hunting game, and growing up under the shadow of God. But fate had something else written for him. He wasn't just a farmer's son, he was about to become the deadliest sniper in American history. The rifle in his hands was a judgment day for the enemy and a symbol of protection for his country. He was born in a small town called Odessa, where life was slow, but ambitions ran high. His father, Wayne Kyle, was a tough but honest man who taught his sons that God, family, and country came before all else. Chris held a rifle for the first time when he was just 8 years old, and that's when his ability to focus and shoot accurately first showed itself. From then on, he went hunting with his brother, observing quietly and striking with precision. There were no unnecessary emotions, no noise, just focus. This trait would later make him a lifesaver in the blood-soaked deserts of Iraq. He wasn't extraordinary in school, but he was persistent, determined, and unshakable. He entered college but felt his heart beating elsewhere. He believed he was born for something greater. After the 9/11 attacks, he knew the time had come. But before that, he had to endure pain. A rodeo accident shattered his arm, and the Navy rejected him. But Chris didn't give up. He came back stronger, healed himself, and reapplied. This time, he was selected for BUD/S, the grueling training program for Navy SEALs. BUD/S was like walking through hell: sleep deprivation, ice-cold waters, being buried in sand, non-stop running, stress beyond imagination, and half the men quit in the first week. Chris, however, endured everything silently. His presence had a strange power. He spoke little but amazed everyone through his actions. He completed the training and joined SEAL Team 3, where he was selected for advanced sniper training. Instructors said his eyes and patience were unmatched. He could sit in one position for hours and fire a single bullet with absolute precision. He became part of a team that would later be deployed in Iraq, where bombs, bullets, suicide attacks, and death lurked at every corner. Chris faced it all, but in his own way. He would sit far off, watching over his team, and when danger appeared, his bullet would pierce the enemy's chest. In Ramadi, he was known as the Devil, because the enemy trembled at his name. He was on a mission, not just to complete objectives, but to bring every teammate home alive and protect the children of his nation. His targets were often enemy fighters holding RPGs, sometimes even dressed as civilians or women. But Chris never hesitated. He always made the right call. With over 160 confirmed kills and thousands of lives saved, he called himself not a killer, but a protector. He hated war but loved his duty. His bullets weren't for violence, they were shields for his brothers in arms. He was nearly killed multiple times. Once a sniper's bullet missed him by inches, once a blast damaged his hearing, but he never retreated. After the war, he returned home, where his wife Taya and 2 kids awaited him, but the real battle had just begun, the mental war. PTSD, nightmares, explosions in his dreams, the screams, the blood, the fallen friends haunted him, but he turned his pain into purpose. He founded the Chris Kyle Foundation, helping other wounded veterans heal. He took them to shooting ranges, counseled them, told them they were not alone. He believed the real war begins after the battlefield falls silent. He once said the noise doesn't stop when the gunfire does, it echoes inside. And then came February 2, 2013, the day he took a troubled veteran to the shooting range to help him, but that same man turned around and shot Chris and his friend from behind. Chris Kyle was gone, but he didn't die. He became immortal in the heart of America. His story made millions weep. His wife Taya preserved his memory in a book, and Hollywood turned it into the film American Sniper, where Bradley Cooper portrayed him. The movie was not just a box office hit, it revealed the untold stories behind war. Chris Kyle remains an example. He taught us that there is strength in silence, that duty comes before self, and that sacrifice never goes to waste. He showed us that fighting the enemy is easier than fighting yourself, and that real patriots don't fight for fame, but for responsibility. He taught us that pain is not to be escaped but transformed into strength, that love demands loyalty, and that even after death, a warrior can teach the world how to live. For America, he was a sniper, but for humanity, he was a mentor, who proved that courage doesn't scream, it watches silently and strikes only when it must.